Meet Jakob. He's a trademark expert in Shenzhen. His startup is about helping foreign companies establish the brand in China and protect the intellectual property against counterfeits. I will have Jakob explain to you why your brand is so important with a simple example.
What about Sprite, man? Sprite is basically water with sugar and lemon, right? That's it. Right? Why does a Sprite cost 7 RMB? Why does it cost? It costs like 20 in Denmark, 20 RMB in Denmark. Right? Why does it cost half an RMB to produce? Probably much less though. The reason is the reputation and the brand and the way that you can distinguish that it's a Sprite. You know?
Can you spend some time and talk about your background?
My background, I'm from Denmark. I'm from Copenhagen. Copenhagen, a little bit outside of Copenhagen, and very, very different from China growing up. You know, it's a lot about, it's not very strict, so to say, like the school and all this institution. So we had probably a little bit more freedom in terms of sport. There's not that much focus on exams when I grew up. For my, like, there's more, I could do a lot of sports. So when I grew up, I used to do a lot of sports, play basketball, played a lot of high level basketball for many years. And I thought that was what I really wanted to do. But when I was like 17, 18, I started wanting to do something else. So I turned into, like, I wanted to become an engineer. And so I went to the Danish Technical University, and that's how I came to China. I came on a study abroad. And when I came to Beijing, I was so, like, all the stuff that I heard about China before was just turned upside down, you know? I heard that China was kind of a closed country with no freedom. And I imagined China being something totally different. But when I came to China, I was so surprised in a positive way that I wanted to see more. So I got myself an internship at the consulate, and then
This is still in Beijing, right?
No, that's in Shanghai.
Shanghai.
After 6 months in Shanghai, I went to after 6 months in Beijing, I went to Shanghai for 2 years. Where I first had a 6 month internship, and then after that, I was supposed to go back to Denmark to finish my education. But I just called them and I said, like, I'm not coming home, so I just come back for the exams. And they said, you can't really do that, you know. But then I called the head of the school, told him, like, I'm not coming back. So, and he agreed. So he agreed to let me stay in China. So I stayed in Shanghai and started studying Chinese by myself, and started trying to learn more about China for 2 years. And then I went back and took the final exam.
That's your Bachelor of Engineering, right?
Yeah, profession bachelor in global business and technology. So what did I do? My bachelor, I did some research study on like the firewall when you do like internal computer system for company. Like when you send stuff, some stuff you can access, some stuff you can't access, right? Like with Google and Facebook, you can't access those. Yeah. So I did kind of like how does that affect a company's like CRM system or EIP system? So I did that, and then I came back, and then I went back, and I was like, what now? What should I do now? And I'm like, I want to go back to China, but I don't want to go back to Shanghai. I want to see something new. So I came to Shenzhen, and that's when I really started getting into this trademark thing, because that's when I got the case that was like, I found out like how much that guy really needed me. I just been helping him as a friend, you know, with the trademark thing, and I found out like I should do this for a living, you know. I should do this. I should create a business around this. because no one else is doing it. Like everyone that does it is doing it wrong, I think. I thought, or still is, because it's all about law and lawyers and all this stuff, but really I don't see it that way, you know. It's more about like business than it is about being a lawyer, actually. That's what I think. But anyway, so I came back to Shenzhen and I studied Shenzhen University. I got a scholarship for that. And I studied for 1.5 years here in Shenzhen. And then I became a full-time basketball coach just to make some money while I was starting my company. I started my company in November last year. And so slowly starting, you know what I mean? I don't want to rush into it. I wanna do it very, very organic, if you could say like that. I don't want to rush into anything, but I'm slowly like getting my finger on the pulse and trying to like find out where this company is gonna take, which direction it's gonna go. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Tell me about the Shenzhen startup scene.
What I know about it is from my work with Hank and stuff, and that's also why I came. Technology, like hardware technology, and people trying to do prototypes and trying to do research and stuff like that. I think that's really interesting, and I think there's a lot of interesting companies out here. There's one company also that I've been. There's a lot of companies that are doing interesting stuff, but there's one specific for the trademark thing that I came across, which was doing stickers.
Stickers?
Yeah, it's a foreign company. Yeah, they're doing stickers that you can put on a product. And an artificial intelligence is going to look at that sticker. And because the sticker is printed on a printer with some sort of pattern that can only be done once. So the artificial intelligence is going to recognize it, and it's going to see whether or not the product is fake or real just from a sticker. And I think that's like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Wow.
You cannot fake it. Yeah. You can't fake the technology, because the printer that they use for it use some specific ink that is gonna go into random. It's gonna crack in a random way, and once it's cracked in a random way, it's like a fingerprint basically. And then you have the artificial intelligence too, and you can access it with WeChat and Facebook and all this. So I think that's really interesting technology, and a startup that come from Shenzhen, but it's not that big. It's just something I came across because I do trademark, right? So, but mostly these companies out here, out of my knowledge, the people I know that do startups, is all doing something with technology, which is fucking cool.
Cool. It's pretty cool. So now let's move on to the main point of this interview. Your startup. What is its name? What does it do? Tell me.
Okay, so my startup's name is Ownit.
Ownit.
Ounnid, and it comes like, my philosophy is this. My idea is that you don't really need anything to tell what the product is. Like, if you look at Pepsi, right? Would you think that's a cola? Or if you look at McDonald's, does it sound like a burger? Or Apple, does it sound like an iPhone? Not really. So you just need like a very easy name to pronounce. Then you need a name that's available to register for a trademark. So I came up with Ownit, also because I wanted to have the ID as a part of the brand. So if you see Ownit, it's kind of like OUNNID. The last part is ID, which stands for the company's ID. And the first own means either you can own something or it's your own ID, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Then you put it together and it has no meaning. It's just something you say.
Yeah.
So it's called Ownit.
Very cool.
And then it's...
Tell me Ownit's service and the problem that it's trying to solve.
It's a consulting company that consults foreign businesses. Mostly, the goal is to serve foreign businesses, because most Chinese businesses can do it by themselves. But foreign companies who are trying to get into China, who doesn't have a clue about what trademark is about and branding is about in China. And it's not only about trademarks. Trademark is protecting the brand, but it's also about trying to adapt your brand to the Chinese consumers. So for instance, if you have a brand which is English, not a lot of Chinese people will understand that. That's why a lot of Chinese brands, they have English and Chinese. You know, like McDonald's would be Mai Dong Lao, right? Something like that. You would have the Chinese name also, or Kentucky Fried Chicken would be like Kentucky or something like that, right? Kentucky, right?
Yeah. They use the pinyin.
And you have these, in the pinyin, but you also have the characters, and you have to have both of these. Why? It's very simple. Like if you see some shit in Russian, if you go into a supermarket and you see some stuff in Chinese that you understand, which product will you choose? You choose the one that you're familiar with, right? The one that you don't think you're gonna get a stomach ache from. And if people can recognize, it's good to have English brand in China. But if you don't have anything, if you don't localize it, if you don't translate and do things to adapt it, you will not be able to reach the Chinese consumers, right? Like I remember I had a client who wanted to translate his brand name into Chinese, and the Chinese, he used a Danish lawyer who had a Chinese partner to transfer into three possible names that they could register as trademark. And he sent those 3 names to me just to check them through, because it was me and that other guy who was helping him. And all of these 3 names, it was like 8-9 characters per brand, right? Which is like totally like shit, right?
Yeah, it's too long. It's way too long.
And it's too long for a Chinese. Like you even laughing because you would know, but this guy would not know. You know, he wouldn't understand it. Like 9 characters for a name, and one of them, like, I might even be able to send them to you, because one of them was really funky. Like one of them said something with a dead horse. Like I don't remember.
Because if they only translate with the sound, sometimes you end up with the terrible character. You have multiple characters sounding the same, but you choose the wrong character. It's just hilarious.
Yep. Exactly, it's hilarious, and that's my point. My point is that if you're a foreign company trying to get into China, you cannot make these, like, you can make the mistakes, but it's gonna cost you. You know what I mean? And people just not gonna buy your stuff if you have a product that says dead horse. There was another one that was even worse. There was, how can you translate a brand into something that's that like bad? You know what I mean? And this was a professional lawyer in Denmark who did this.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wow, you know, that's why it's bigger than just being a lawyer. It's not about filing documents for a trademark. Yes, it's also about that, but it's also about understanding, like, what are you filing for? What are you protecting? So my service is trying to do the strategy, help them to do the strategy with the company as a consulting company, and once the strategy is done, I also want to help them to execute the strategy. You know what I mean? Like enforce the rights and apply for the rights and do all this shit.
You told me before about how the government is beginning to require things such as trademark in order for companies to sell in certain places, right? Like in malls and certain. Tell me about that. So right now, like in China, you all know that life quality is increasing, right? We all know that. And one of the things that comes with life quality increasing is less fake goods and higher quality, right? If you want higher quality, you need some marks to be able to see what's high quality and what is low quality. That's why you use trademarks, because you have a range of different IP rights. You have patents, you have trademarks, you have copyrights, and you have design protection and utility models and all this. But the thing about trademark is it's very, very easy to distinguish, right? It's very easy to see if this logo belongs to this company, where it's very, very difficult to see if a patent, like a small technology part inside a computer, is from one company or the other company. You need technicians to see that. But a trademark is easy to see. So you can enforce your trademark a lot easier with the right documents than you can with a patent. Patent needs a lot more time, and it's probably more for manufacturing.
But a trademark, that is why Alibaba and JD and all these gets pressure from the government to tell them that it's not only the government's responsibility to make sure that everything is not fake on these sites like Taobao and all this. You can find a lot of fake stuff on Taobao. But it's Taobao and Tmall's own responsibility to make sure that there's no fake stuff on it. So what Tmall and JD and all these companies do is they make sure they have an IP support site, whatever, where you have to have your Tmall, you have to have your trademark certificate for the product categories that you're gonna sell in, or you have to have them applied for, meaning that they have to be under examination. So you have to at least have applied for it. So it's like a very, very simple thing, right? It's you don't have that. Well, you're never gonna sell like on a high quality e-commerce sites in China. And most of the foreign companies who want to get into China are high quality stuff, right? It's the luxury brands, all this kind of stuff. So they need to be able to sell on these things. Like malls, also like the big stores, also get this pressure. One experience I have is the one that called IT. You know that one?
Yeah, it's a fashion brand. Is it fashion brand? No.
Yeah, exactly. It's a multi-brand store, right?
Okay. Yeah.
Before they can just say, hey, we would like your brand to come into our store. You need to be sure that you own this brand. If you don't own this brand, IT would take a huge risk, right? Because what happens if IT sells some stuff that they don't own the trademark rights to, and some Chinese guy, some random guy in Hunan province, he just take these trademarks and he start to sue IT, you know?
Yeah.
They're gonna have to pay a shitload of money to this guy. And that's why they require it too. They require all the suppliers of clothes and fashion designers to have done that in advance. And that's kind of unique for China, because in Europe and the US, it's called first to use, not first to file, which means that if you're the first one to use this trademark, obviously you're the owner, right? If you can prove that you're the first one to use it, you're going to win in court. But in China, it's not the same way. You have to be the first one to have the certificate. And if you don't have the certificate, and if you didn't apply for it, well, the Chinese government looks at it like this. If you had your brand, then you had your opportunity to own this brand. If you didn't take this opportunity to own this brand, it's your own fault, you know? Then you just missed your chance.
The domain name system, yeah, first come, first serve.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Exactly the same. Yeah.
How did you acquire all of this knowledge in terms of trademark? Because you have a lot of those, right?
Yeah. So like one more thing that's kind of unique to my background, I guess, is that my dad actually make logos and my mom is a lawyer. So you know what I mean? So I already have this kind of understanding a little bit about the creative side of like making logos, and we used to draw all the time. We would work like this is what he does, right? My dad. And my mom always been focused on the law part. So you always have to be able to argue for your thing. So I always it doesn't come easy to me, but it's like both with logos and with the law part, I think it's kind of like it's a little bit natural for me to like it, you know what I mean? And also I just studied a lot. I always found it interesting. So when I got to Shanghai, I met a lot of companies through my work with the consulate. At the consulate, we had this trade fair where we had a lot of companies coming, and none of the companies, maybe 1 or 2 out of 10 companies had the trademark, and they were just putting their stuff up for everyone to see at a trade fair. You know what I mean? That's probably one of the most dangerous places you can be if you don't have a trademark. Like it's a
buffet for other people to steal your stuff, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's a buffet. It's a seafood buffet for Chinese people over there. Like they they can just go and take pictures.
Yeah.
That's what they do. There's a lot of people that do that. That's actually a real thing. They go and they take pictures on trade fairs, and then they go home and they say, oh, this brand didn't apply for trademark yet, this trend, They just do the list because it's like, if you know what you do with applying for trademark, if you don't have to do all the strategy every time, it's cheap. Yeah. If you just do it to fuck other people, it's cheap stuff. If you don't have any strategy,
it's like paperwork, literally. Yeah.
Yeah, it's paperwork. It's like Visa or
exactly.
like whatever. You know, if you do the same thing over and over again, you can apply for it in 10 minutes. I could do that too, but it still requires, if you want to do it because you have an idea and where you want to go in the future, you still have to apply some time and
a plan
and get some a plan, a strategy, something like that, to be able to understand where your brand wants to move. But if you're just doing it to fuck other people, you can do it really quick and cheap. So these guys do that. They just go to the trade fairs and they start registering. They just go crazy, and you can even, like, there's multiple ways that you can register for trademarks now without professionals. Like you could do it tomorrow. You could go to the internet and you could find the first 10 brands and you could just start applying for them. That's
and you will own it.
So that's what I saw it.
Yeah.
You own it.
Yeah.
That's once you applied, the next thing that's gonna happen is no one else can. All the application that comes after yours is behind yours. Yeah. So it's only if your application gets rejected by the government, then the other applications will continue. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So if let's say I have a company that produces food or something from Denmark, and I want to get into China, and I want to do the trademark, but for some reason I wait until next week to do it, right? But you don't have a company. You're just you, but you heard me talking on the phone with someone that I want to register a trademark, and you do it today, then you own the trademark. Unless I go and I pose your trademark, and that's really difficult to do. It's not easy to do. So it is really about being the first one to do it. And if you're not the first one to do it, it's all about rebranding or creating a brand in Chinese for the Chinese consumers, right?
Yeah, of course. The marketing and the brand protection is your primary products, right? I mean, your primary service. Yeah. So can you tell me how they can go together, because you goes into details into the website. So can you let me know about that? So
if you have some strategy, right? So let's say I have a company and you have a company name. You want to, first of all, like my name, I want to register the trademark for my own name, Ownit, right? I want to have the trademarks in the classes in maybe 3 different classes. Once I have these names, once I have these certificates, I can use these certificates to tell other people, hey, I can market my stuff through this name. The consumers will know me through this name. Now, if I also have some products, if I create a computer software called Clement, right? Clement system. Well, then I also have to take trademark on Clement system within the right product. After I have that, I can start, you can license it out to other people, all this stuff. But if you create your Clement software system, or I create my own, and it becomes big, other people will look at it and then they want money, They want to see, is there any way that I could find a way to make money out of his things? And if your stuff hasn't been protected, there's no reason to sell anything. You know what I mean? There's no reason to sell anything without having it protected first. It's like driving a car without a driver's license. You know what I mean? Like, at some point when you get stopped, you're gonna go to jail. Right? At some point you need to have the driver license before you can drive the car. It's kind of like the same. So, and then there's continuous strategy about like when you should apply for new trademarks and when you should add new, like if you get new products and if you new renewals and licensing and letter of authorization and oppositions and monitoring the market. You have to also see who's it, because even though you have a trademark, people will still try to do fake goods, make fake goods, right? They would try to produce, like if I make a chair, which is a certain chair with a certain design with a certain trademark, well, I have to protect it. Once I protected it, I need to make sure to look all the time on the internet, look on top or look on everywhere to see, are people faking it? Are people trying to create that chair fake? Because if you let people create your products and you don't do anything about it, what will happen? What will happen is that consumers would just be confused. They don't know which product is the real one. And that's going to end up really bad reputation for your company. Imagine this. Imagine if Apple didn't own the trademark, but they still used Apple. And there was 10 different Apple phones, but you couldn't notice the difference. You don't know which one is which. Would you ever buy an Apple phone? You wouldn't. Because you don't know what you would get. You don't know what it really is. You know what I mean? And Apple still have a problem with fake Apple phones. But they're doing a lot, right? They're doing a lot to get the fake Apple phones off the market. And other companies should do the same, because if you get the fakes off of the market, well, then you have a competitive advantage. It's like it's good for competing. It's good for gaining market share. It's good for long-term strategy and long-term like business. Where sales and marketing is more short-term. You know, you can do a commercial in TV or a Douyin or whatever. You know, who knows, some sort of promotional thing. But how much is that promotional thing worth if you don't even actually own the stuff that you're promoting? You know what I mean? So that's the whole thing. The whole thing is to like get people understand. Okay, there's two sides. There's two sides of having of creating a business. You know, one is the thing that you actually do. The other thing is making sure that no one else is faking it or trying to like do stuff behind your back. Which is what the IP can help with. So in other words, your company not only will help like foreign companies to maybe translate the brand into Chinese market and like tailor description and everything, right? So it's more like so what I do is this. I have a couple fixed prices and fixed services that I do. For instance, applications, trademark applications, oppositions, some sort of contracts. Translations, logo designs. I can do this stuff fixed, but I also do projects. You know what I mean? For companies where it requires a certain amount of hours every month. So I do like fixed things and I do long projects. Yeah. Because normally these things take a long time. It's not like an application for a trademark would take a year. So I can do that on a fixed price. But you can imagine how much stuff they will have to do after and during and all this kind of stuff. Because you talk about reporting and investigation on whether there's any violation on the trademark. Yeah, that's a lot of work. Exactly. Yeah. And that's what I want to, and that's what I'm also kind of like, that's why it's kind of difficult for me to just explain exactly what I'm doing, because I'm also trying to feel out like which way is the best way to go. You know, is it the fixed prices or is it the long projects with the companies? I do both at this time. Right now I do whatever the company needs because I have the knowledge, I have the partners, I'm here in China, so it's easy for me to execute the strategies that they need to do, and it's much easier for me to check if something is legit and if something is real, because I studied Chinese. I've been here for a long time. Like for instance with the brand names, right? Like it's an example I used before where the Danish guy gets a brand name of 9 characters and we all both know it's a shit brand name, but he would never know. And the advantage of me is that I'm here in China and I can speak to local people, and it's not really me who's the big expert. Yes, I'm not an expert, but I know stuff about trademarks. The real experts is the ones that I'm talking to all the time. I'm talking to different people about different things, you know. and I'm trying to create like a collected service that includes trademarks and branding and marketing in a way that it's gonna be more profitable for foreign companies. Yeah.
So you currently already have a few clients, right? So without like without violating like the confidence or the NDA or whatever, can you tell me like the problems that they're facing and how you're solving them right now?
One client had a brand, but this brand is not able to be. It wasn't able to be registered in China because it was too similar. It was too generic.
Oh.
When something is too generic, it means it's not good enough. It can't be used to distinguish. So the English name wasn't able to be used, so we translated it into Chinese, and we got the certificate. So now they're able to use the Chinese name, which means that they have to redo the packaging. They have to do everything, into Chinese.
Okay.
That's one thing where I helped them to translate the brand name. Another one is that was one where it was a client who already doing a lot of business in China. They were already doing a lot, but they didn't have trademarks. And the clients just started asking, why don't you have to take trademark or we cannot work with you anymore, right? The distributor said that, the partners in China. And then they found me and we started talking and found out that there was another guy who was actually applying for the trademark while we were talking.
Wow.
Like one of those trademark squatter.
Yeah.
So it's not something you read in a book, man. It's real. Yeah. So he was doing that.
Okay.
Yeah. So he was doing that, and we started to create a case. We started to create a case against this. But as I told you before, once that guy already filed for a trademark, you need a lot of evidence to be able to take that down. You have to. It's not. It has to be really, really convincing, and convincing is not a few bills, a few receipts, and all this kind of stuff. It's not enough. You need a lot of evidence of presence in China and use in China to be able to say, okay, people are going to be confused. So we didn't win this one, and this case. Yeah, we didn't win this one because it's very tough to win. That's why it's so important to be first. Yeah, first. So we didn't win this, and they had to go and ask the guy how much he wanted to buy it back.
Yeah.
And the guy he was like 1,900,000 RMB or some shit. And obviously they're like, can you do lower? And he went down a little bit. And it didn't even stop there. The guy kept applying for more and more trademarks. The other guy. So that was when I realized, okay, I need to help people to do this on a real basis, I have another client, which is a bigger client, which is I help them to strengthen their IP call your portfolio. So it's basically how much IP you have. So I help them to register 12 trademarks in China, which is accepted now. We're waiting for the certificate, and this client is a big company. So they depend very much on their reputation to sell stuff, right? They depend on their brand to be able to sell stuff because it's a luxury brand. And what I'm talking with them now is making a long-term project where we do where I put in hours every month to investigate and feel out the market and see opportunities to strengthen and enforce the situation in China. So for instance, once you have another thing you can do, once you have trademark in China, you can register in the customs. When you register in customs is going to look for your trademark. Everything with that specific logo, which is not attached to your company or to any of the addresses of the people that you have attached into that file that you've applied with the customs, will be seized. That means that you can protect your brand at the borders, at the customs, from being counterfeited, which is also something that we're going to look into with this company. That's the next thing. Trademark licensing I'm going to do with them, and just keep investigating and keep finding out, building the case, finding evidence for future. This kind of stuff is what I'm talking with them now to do. So this is kind of a bigger one, which is stretching out for over longer time, you know. So these are kind of you know, the scope is kind of broad, you know.
Yeah.
Because it's not really how to say a topic that has been that
explored.
It hasn't really been that.
Yeah.
Like it has been, but it's really still. It's really new still in some way, you know. It's really still like unexplored in many ways.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to feel my way forward and just trying to see like what will work. Like how does it work the best way? How can we secure these companies in the best way? You know.